there is a world where nature still hides some of her most beautiful secrets. A notch in the Earth's crust between Africa, Asia, and Europe. The Mediterranean.
She is my own.
15,000 islands surrounded by crystal clear water. A deep sea where extraordinary wildlife reigns. Waters so blue, they attract visitors from all over the world. This sea has witnessed the birth of civilizations, the first cities, the first seafarers. No natural space has been so affected by the presence of mankind. How do they adapt to us? How do they succeed in giving birth, raising their young, growing up, finding a mate, pushing beyond their limits, conquering new territories? Under attack on all fronts, how can this remarkable sea withstand this pressure? Can she heal her wounds? Can she regenerate?
She lies and rolls.
These are the incredible stories of the living beings in the Mediterranean today. It's September. On the south coast of France, a great traveler is making her way. She's a loggerhead turtle. In the great family of sea turtles, the loggerhead is the most Mediterranean of them all. This young female is 25 years old and is suddenly undergoing a transformation. Inside her body, a biological clock has just gone off. From the other end of the Mediterranean, a powerful urge calls to her for the very first time. Turtle heads south. She's leaving the French coast for the open sea. She must return to the place she was born. Crossing almost the entire Mediterranean, an odyssey of 4,000 kilometers. Her destination is Kyparissia, a beach in Greece. Six exhausting months through perilous waters. If all goes well, she will be there just in time for the most important task of her life: giving birth. But how can she find this place 25 years after leaving it? To navigate, Turtle uses all her sensory abilities. Her powerful sense of smell allows her to analyze the scents of the currents and the coastlines. Thanks to her taste, she has memorized the different types of water in each place she has been through. she has another incredible ability, an acute sense of the Earth's magnetic field. As if equipped with GPS, she knows her precise location on the planet at any given moment. This sensory toolkit allows her to remember all the places she has been in her entire life, as if on a map. She can set her course towards whichever place she chooses, just from her memory. And yet, she isn't connected to any satellite. South of the Mediterranean is the largest desert in the world, the Sahara. Thousands of white storks are traveling through. Having spent the winter in Mali, they are returning to Europe for the summer. A dangerous journey they make every year. But for this young male, it's the first time. He follows his elders. They know the way. The young male is still single and only has one thing in mind: meeting a female. Most migratory birds travel at night in the cooler, calmer conditions. Storks, however, only travel during the day. For the large bodies to glide through the skies, they need the help of a natural elevator: hot air. After 5,000 kilometers of sand dunes, there is now a new obstacle to cross: the sea. The Mediterranean and the famous Strait of Gibraltar. Here, in the north of Morocco, is the shortest crossing between Africa and Europe. 14 kilometers to reach Spain. The young male doesn't know how to tackle it. You can't fly over water. There's no lift, the air isn't heated. If he touches the water, it's certain death. So he waits for the others to show him the way. Storks travel across continents to find a mate, while others cross the ocean. The middle of the Atlantic. Bluefin tuna are arriving from all over the ocean. They gather in their thousands and all set off for the same destination: the Mediterranean. An army of 3,000 in peak condition. Colossal fish measuring up to 3 meters and over 600 kilograms. They cut through the water at 70 kilometers an hour. They speed on day and night, even while they sleep. Their last meal before the most decisive moment of their lives. Here we go again, all together towards the promised land. But why the Mediterranean? They must breed where they were born. So it has been since the dawn of time. They will make a journey of thousands of kilometers towards their final destination, the Balearic Islands. The first dangerous stage is to pass through the gateway to the Mediterranean, the Strait of Gibraltar. On the Moroccan coast, the young stork is waiting for a signal from the more experienced adults. They are taking off. It's time for him to go. The warm air rises from the ground. It lifts him higher as he turns. A thermal elevator. His wings span 2 meters. The feathers at their tips spread out like fingers and feel the invisible thermals. They guide him in the wind. The plan is to rise as high as possible above the coast, up to 1,000 meters. They are high enough now. Their crossing can begin. They glide to the other shore. The great descent towards Spain. This feat can only be pulled off in certain conditions. Strong sunshine with no wind. Some have been waiting for weeks to cross. The young male senses his altitude dropping dangerously. Land, at last. He made it. First stop for all travelers, Doñana National Park. The largest wetland in Spain, irrigated by the estuary of the Guadalquivir River. Food here is plentiful, and so are potential mates. The young male can now move on to his most important project. Meeting a female, forming a couple, having chicks. But for storks, there is one condition for getting any female's attention. You must have a nest. Knowing that a presentable nest takes years to make, the young male is looking for a second-hand one. That one? Nope, already taken. How about this one? That one's taken too. They are all occupied and well guarded. In this area, there aren't any free spaces left. A few kilometers away, in the middle of the strait, the 3,000 tuna are crossing the pass. They split into 2 groups. The northern group chooses to follow the coastline. But But there is an unexpected obstacle in their path. The second group is heading through the middle of the strait, where the sentries are posted. A family of orcas. They will take their share. The northern group can't find the way out. The trap is closing in on them. Tuna less. They won't have any offspring. The middle group is still en route. Most of the troops were able to pass through. Now they head for the Balearic Islands. The young male still hasn't found a free nest. His exploration leads him north. After Andalusia is the region of Extremadura, the lookout point of Los Barrecos. Perched on top are several very old nests, but even those are occupied. Trujillo, a pretty, calm, little town. Will there be any available spots here? How about here? The neighbors seem nice. Oh no, this rotten old nest won't do. The young male has finally found a smart little nest. Unfortunately, the weather vane is in the way. No matter, this nest is fantastic. Surely the females will love it. He waits. Days go by. No females show up. Is it the weather vane? Or is the town too quiet? Everyone here is old. After a week without a single visit, the young male decides to move. Special structures have been built here for storks. The young male attempts to take a nest by force. But he is much too young to challenge the grown-ups. What about that one? Don't even think about it. Growing up and making your way in life is never easy. You must fight and not lose hope. Keep trying, again and again. On his way, he finds an unexpected food source. It won't make him sick. A stork's stomach is so resistant it can digest almost anything. This landfill site has become a daily buffet for a group of storks. They completely change their way of life. They have food all year round and no longer make the great voyage to Africa. They have settled. The world is changing. So are the storks. The young male has other concerns right now. Has he learned from his failures? He has lowered his ambitions somewhat. He is ready to start from scratch, find a spot, and build his own nest himself. After swimming for 10 days and covering 350 kilometers, Turtle is making her first stop, Corsica. She is at the coast again, where she can find food. She loves the sponges she dislodges from the rocks and the shellfish that she can smell beneath the sand. After lunch, a little siesta in the sunshine. Bringing her body temperature back up to the right level. Turtle leaves Corsica and turns towards the Italian coast and the Ligurian current that will carry her south. In the Mediterranean, turtles face no dangers from nature. Well, almost none. Her weak point, the most vulnerable part of her armor, is her stomach. Normally, sharks won't dare. There is another danger that Turtle has learned to overcome. It looks like a jellyfish, but isn't. They are not for eating. She has known that for a long time. In the past, she only encountered them here and there along the coast, but recently they have appeared in large shoals. A plastic vortex in the open sea. The equivalent of 34,000 plastic bottles ends up in the Mediterranean every minute. Turtle doesn't know it. She's living it. While she may know the difference between a plastic bag and a jellyfish, others sometimes get it wrong. This young male has already swallowed too much plastic. And now he has gas in his intestines. He can no longer dive. He bobs on the surface like a cork. There's nothing she can do. He won't get out of this one. Nothing stops Turtle. She is possessed by an overpowering urge, the desire to breed. The tuna have reached their final destination, the Balearic Archipelago. Beautiful sheltered bays, perfect temperature. It's paradise for the bluefin tuna. Here, they will carry out their greatest mission. Waiting for the full moon and their night of fertility. This is the moment. The big night for bluefin tuna. There is excitement in the water. The females have swollen bellies full of eggs. They release tens of millions. The males fertilize those eggs with their semen. They beat their tails to mix everything together. A nocturnal ballet creating life. They will hatch hundreds of billions of larvae. This is the bluefin tuna's home. They have no natural predator here. But a formidable enemy is watching them very closely. An armada of boats follows their every movement with powerful sonars. Tuna, betrayed by their instincts. These lords of the sea are transferred to fish farms. They are fed before becoming food themselves. "3,000 of them entered the Mediterranean. Now, there are only 300. These few escapees have avoided all the traps, but they were able to mate and produce the next generation. All that is left for them to do is pass through the Strait of Gibraltar once more, back to the Atlantic. Because of overfishing, bluefin tuna almost disappeared from the Mediterranean in the 2000s. But the situation is improving. Thanks to quotas that limit catches, they have been able to reproduce abundantly. We have avoided the collapse of their population. For now. The young male is now looking for a modest site to build his nest. He has found a work of art he likes. The top is taken, the higher floors too, but the mezzanine looks vacant. It's bare, but at least it's available. The dorm is on the second floor. On the third, a studio for amorous stopovers. The penthouse has a stunning view, but it's too windy. The mezzanine isn't so bad after all. There is still a lot of work to do to make the nest worthy of its name. But all of a sudden, the young male has a visitor. A little customary clattering. If she responds, that is a good first step. Success. She's interested. The young male insists, checking, making sure, sealing the bond. The next step is hers to take. In that moment, the young male knows he has reached the end of his voyage. His project has succeeded after so many missteps. He can hope to couple up and be sitting on some eggs within a fortnight. They will learn to live together, and in a few years, they will have the most beautiful nest in Extremadura. Turtle has been traveling for 3 weeks. She's now heading south. She has reached the Italian coast. Here, the mountains plunge steeply into the sea. One of the problems of this coast is that there is nothing to eat. The strip of coastline is too narrow. Turtle knows she can try her luck in these places where humans live. The ports are stocked with untapped riches. Turtle doesn't know she has entered someone else's territory. A huge male jealously guarding his goods. Fishermen are not the turtle's enemies, but their equipment claims many victims. The most dangerous are the ghost nets. These unowned traps can drift for many years. Thanks to the currents, Turtle has made quick progress along the Italian coast. She now makes a remarkable decision. Instead of navigating around Sicily, she heads south, directly towards the Strait of Messina. How does she know that by taking this corridor, she is saving herself hundreds of kilometers? The strait is incredibly dangerous. Intense maritime traffic, fishing boats in the hundreds. The cold waters in this deep strait are very rich in plankton, and also in prey for turtles. Her favorite meal. Turtles play an important role in controlling the population of jellyfish. After the Strait of Messina, she turns east. It's March. She has already traveled 3,000 kilometers. She is not the only one. The mating season has begun. Hundreds and thousands of them come here every year. Turtle has come to the end of her journey after 6 months of migration. She has reached her destination, the island of Zakynthos. The rise in temperature and daylight are waking their reproductive instincts. The males have gathered near the shore. The females are arriving from the sea. Now it's time to meet a partner. There are lots of males that want to mate with her. Turtle approves. She is able to fertilize her eggs with several partners' sperm. She will have babies with many different biological fathers, and a higher probability of strong lineage. Pretty clever. In the natural world, it's normally the mother that gives birth. Except in one unusual family who takes a different approach. Have the father bear the offspring. This is the strange story of the male seahorse's pregnancy. Seahorse is a fish with the head of a horse. He has 2 little dorsal fins that propel him forwards, and 2 others behind his head to adjust his course. A mouth with no teeth to gulp down shrimp. But not the shells. Today, Seahorse isn't looking for food. He has a romantic rendezvous. A private meeting with absolute discretion. After a few intimate exchanges, she lays her eggs in the male's belly. This romance takes place in the Tau Lagoon, a small sheltered inland sea in southern France. Men have farmed shellfish on ropes here for the last 100 years. Seahorses take advantage of the calm, warm, shallow waters to breed here. Seahorse is pregnant. He's gotten really big, with all the discomfort and irritation that brings. 2 weeks have passed since they mated. He's going into labor. The first contractions. Push, push. Dad is giving birth. A mother-father. It's one of nature's most remarkable oddities. The babies will begin their lives alone, without their parents' help. The father won't have time to rest. Mother has another batch ready and is eager to go again. He will be continuously pregnant until the end of summer. Turtle is now ready for the final challenge. She has reached Kibalicia, the place where she was born 25 years ago. The scenery has changed a bit. She needs to go a little further. Turtle has to haul herself out of her normal environment. She strains to drag her 150 kilograms across the sand. On land, it's hell. Not to mention all the egg thieves on the prowl. Why must she inflict this punishment on herself? It's a legacy of the distant past, when her ancestors lived on the land. She digs into the sand to bury her eggs as deep as she can. Hiding her treasure so no one can find it. They can always see where she lays her eggs. But she has a trick for the thieves. She leaves around 100 eggs in the sand that will hatch in 50 days. She's finished her task as a mother. Turtle has actually laid her eggs 3 meters away from the place where she dug her hole. The dogs can search all they like. Turtles haven't changed their nesting sites for millions of years. Today, these places are beaches prized by huge numbers of tourists who pose a threat to the survival of the eggs. Some men and women have woken up to the fragility of the turtle's existence. These young volunteers come in their hundreds from all over Europe. They are here with an organization that has been successfully protecting turtles for the last 30 years. Aquilon. Across the Mediterranean, the number of nesting sites has significantly increased. That's great news. Turtle leaves behind hundreds of future lives. She's betting on the fact that at least some of them will survive to carry on the species. And it works. Turtles have withstood every disaster since the age of the dinosaurs. They are still here.
She is my own.
Parents in the Mediterranean have undertaken incredible efforts to give birth. Under the sand, in the nest, and in the currents, new life is being born everywhere. What will become of all these little ones? How can they thrive in this Mediterranean world? He's an 8-month-old fin-whale calf, a big baby weighing 8 tons and 10 meters long. The time has come to grow up, to make his own way, to feed himself by his own means. except he doesn't know how to find food. He still needs his mother. Until now, all he's had to do is come to her belly and suckle. 70 liters of milk flowed into his mouth. It's all gone. His mother is still there, but the milk has dried up. Four tons of fish a day. That's a normal diet for a whale like him. He will have to learn. But how? His mother has just located a sardine shoal down below. She leaves her calf on his own. He can't follow her. Little Finn is not yet able to dive to great depths, but he can still communicate with her through song. Mother and baby send signals to each other. This allows them to keep in touch and to know their respective locations precisely. Water conducts sound very well, 5 times faster than air. Whales can hear each other for hundreds of kilometers. But the dialogue can break down. This danger is made of steel. It travels at 40 kilometers an hour and weighs thousands of tons. If the calf collides with it, it's all over for him. More and more crews are now aware of this. RepSet network software helps alert other vessels to the presence of a whale and limit collisions. The Mediterranean represents 1% of the ocean surface. However, it is crossed by 30% of global maritime traffic. Thousands of boats navigate it to reach the Suez Canal and avoid sailing around Africa. 40 whales are killed every year, but a new program developed by the WWF and Quiet Ocean is raising hope. Using micro-submarines, the Stop Collision system detects whale songs, locates them in real time, and transmits their position to every boat. Little Finn is safe, but he still hasn't eaten anything. His mother must teach him to feed on his own, so she listens. And here's the others. Hundreds of whales roam the deep parts of the Mediterranean all year round. spring, they travel up from the coast of North Africa towards the Gulf of Lion for the abundant plankton and the promise of extraordinary feasts. Littlefin follows his mother. He observes her and imitates her gestures. And it works. This is his first time. Littlefin has just had his first meal on his own. And he thinks that's all there is to it. That he's all grown up and can now live on his own. Not quite yet. The day he learns to fish at a depth of 200 meters, Littlefin will be a real whale. And his mother will let him go. But not before then. It's September on the coast of Greece. In the exact spot where Turtle laid her eggs 8 weeks ago. Tonight, a great adventure begins. A baby loggerhead turtle. He must reach the sea before dawn. He must climb dozens of dunes and cross a desert without being spotted. In this perilous journey, the lives of thousands of young turtles are at stake. It's a full moon, and it's guiding the baby turtles to safety. To head for the sea, he follows the reflection of the moon on the water. But other light sources attract him in the wrong direction. The baby is disoriented. He's heading right towards danger. They have been surveying this beach for months and have located all the turtle nests. Their mission tonight is to protect the babies. After 2 months of incubation, they come out at night, when the temperature is low. This cage stops them from wandering off course. They help them find their way to the sea. But it is essential that they do the last few meters to the water themselves to train the muscles in their fins. But some hatching has escaped their attention. The first one was just the scout. His brothers and sisters are following just behind. They are all falling into the same trap. Because of artificial light sources, many little ones end up getting eaten or dried out by the sun. Luckily, they leave tracks.
Keep on. Kira, we've gone to the back of the beach.
These babies are now memorizing this exact point on Earth. In 25 years, they will be able to return to this exact spot on this beach. On their quest to become adults, the young of the Mediterranean have had to surpass their limits and travel vast distances. They are the new generation. Meanwhile, others have grown. Old age is now upon them. Off the coast of France lives a small pod of bottlenose dolphins. A family headed by a very old female. She is their matriarch. Around her are her daughters and their little ones. 4 generations of females all linked together. The matriarch is in her 60s, and her strength is starting to wane. Her muscles are stiffer, her joints less flexible. Her sight, her hearing, all her senses are diminishing day by day. The matriarch guides her family across a vast territory stretching from the French Riviera to the Camargue. But for the last few days, her navigation has been uncertain. The group seemed to be going in circles. One morning, the fine balance was tipped. The matriarch lost her way during the night. When the sun came up, she didn't know where she was. She doesn't recognize this place. Has she been here before? She doesn't remember. Thousands of sea bass and sea bream. Her food in cages. Where is her family? They aren't answering. They were all around her and then they disappeared. She doesn't remember. The matriarch is heading into a maze. How does she get out? She came this way. No, that way. Her memory is fading. Things aren't quite right in her head. She hasn't taken a breath in a while. Her strength is leaving her. Two of her daughters heard her calls. They know she's not far away. She's about to pass out. There. They've found her. She is very weak. She has to breathe. But the matriarch isn't following her. Her daughter has to teach her even the simplest things again. Does the matriarch have Alzheimer's disease? It has recently been discovered that it can affect dolphins as well as humans. Her whole family is now gathering around her. In the matriarch's absence, the eldest daughter took control of the group. She is now guiding them in search of a meal. All these young dolphins were raised by the matriarch, and she passed on an impressive fishing technique to them. You just have to follow the sound. matriarch did not join the troop. She doesn't have enough strength. And her appetite has gone. She's getting weaker by the hour. Is she aware that her end is near? The matriarch died overnight, surrounded by her loved ones. Her body sank down into the depths of the Mediterranean. The bond between old and young dolphins is vivid until the last moments of their lives. The matriarch leaves behind the knowledge she passed on to her family. Her eldest daughter will now lead the pod. This is the oldest of all living things on the planet today. A plant called Posidonia. The oldest is over 100,000 years old. She stretches for several kilometers between the Balearic Islands of Formentera and Ibiza. Like a forest, she is a refuge for hundreds of species. She protects them, feeds them, shelters their eggs from the currents, she has extraordinary abilities. She stabilizes the seabed. She filters the water and gives it that legendary clarity. She absorbs CO2, stores carbon, and releases oxygen in large quantities. 20 times more than a forest on land. But her virtues lead directly to her misfortunes, because the beauty that surrounds her attracts the most dangerous predators. Every summer, thousands come to enjoy the idyllic waters of Formentera. Many people are unaware of this plant's qualities. And the time it takes for her to grow. 1 centimeter a year. That's 1 meter a century. This This is the damage caused in just a few minutes when a single anchor is dropped in the wrong place. Hundreds of years of growth destroyed. She is covered in scars. As a result, Posidonia is disappearing from our coasts, replaced by sand. In Formentera, she has lost a third of her coverage in the last 10 years. Though she is injured, she begins her slow work again. She heals her wounds, captures the boat's harmful gases, turns them into breathable air, and welcomes all the life that needs her. This miraculous plant, found only in the Mediterranean, grows along the coast from the surface down to around 40 meters. Today, her territory is being eaten away by various human activities: anchors, construction, water pollution. But information is spreading, and everywhere laws are coming into force to protect her. Man's impact on the Mediterranean Sea has intensified in the last 100 years. Waste that ends up in the sea has become more polluting, more toxic, and more harmful for the environment. How does the sea handle all this? What impact do these attacks have on her habitats? And how does she defend herself? There is a wonderful story that tells us a lot. It happened here, in the Gulf of Genoa, 30 years ago. Guillaume Néry was very young. He was not the world freediving champion yet, but his heart already belonged to the Mediterranean. This bay was a very rich natural habitat until one of the greatest ever disasters struck. On the 11th of April 1991, the supertanker Amoco Haven exploded 2 kilometers off the coast. "10,000 tons of oil sank and were deposited 80 meters down. The Haven left a deadly slick drifting towards the Italian and French coasts. It is the most serious ecological disaster ever recorded in the Mediterranean. All this life damaged by oil. "30 years later, Guillaume returns to the scene of the disaster. How did the sea overcome this ordeal? What became of the steel monster? The Haven is still there, on the bottom. "334 meters long, an Eiffel Tower lying on its side. The biggest wreck in the world. Are there any signs of life? These orange spots are still eating bacteria. They are all over the hull. They will keep biting and nibbling the ship until it crumbles away. These bacteria were the first life forms on Earth. They are the first here too, and mark the return of living things to this toxic world. Life may have found a foothold in the wreckage, but the poison is still there. The heavy components of crude oil are practically insoluble in seawater. In this polluted place, other living things play a crucial role. Sponges, seaweed, oysters, and other shellfish. They are everywhere. And what are they doing? They filter the water. Every day, they suck in thousands of cubic meters of contaminated water and spit it out purified. Life is beginning to work its magic on this toxic place. The Haven wreck is the result after 30 years. But what will become of her? Where will she be at the end of the 21st century? To find out, we have to go back in time. The Donator. This ship sank in 1945 off the French Riviera. In less than a century, this piece of inert metal has become an extraordinary natural habitat. On the living crust which covers the hull of the boat, a forest has grown. But this is not a forest of plants. It is a forest of animals. the violescent sea whip. A coral endemic to the Mediterranean. This sea whip landscape attracts many curious creatures from the seabed. Even more surprisingly, this forest breathes and creates a microclimate around itself. This wreck has become a real coral reef. Inside the hull, the forest has become a habitat for many species. All they need can be found here. Shelter, restaurant, nursery, and even a peaceful hideaway. This metal hull is more than a refuge. It is a source of life. We have dumped tons of poison into this sea, and this is what she gives us in return. This magnificent tree of life. The fruit of her patience. This sea is remarkably resilient. But how much more can she take? If we do not give her time to rest, will she have the strength to heal her wounds and be reborn? So that all her living inhabitants can continue being born. Growing, crossing the sea and the land, basking in the sun, protecting their young, reproducing, and growing old in peace. And so that life can continue in this unique jewel.
She washed our souls out. She washed our souls out.
Let us cherish our common good, our sea, the Mediterranean.
I know we